Okay, another reason why businesses fail is leadership. In previous videos we talked about the risk and the reasons for failures. The leaders need to know how to mitigate risk. That's really what you're doing when you're starting a company, is you're keeping your risk low and your ability to succeed high. Remember that every time you look at something, hey, let's take the calculated risk and let's look at ways to succeed. So the entrepreneur is a leader, you're the decision maker, everything is ultimately your responsibility. Remember the baseball team, you're playing all 9 positions. Poor leadership, failure. 8 out of 10 businesses fail. 82% of those run out of cash. Why do they run out of cash? Part of it is because of poor leadership and poor decision making. So leadership is a big part of being a successful entrepreneur. You got to have clear vision. You got to formulate your strategies, really think these through, really think what the consequences are and what the risks are if you do something wrong. Monitor and adjust. Constantly monitor and adjust your strategies. You always want to do continuous improvement. You always want to make it better. You've got to be tired of hearing this by now, but you always want to make it better. You always can get better. Never be satisfied with just the status quo. Never be satisfied with we're good enough. Never be satisfied with what you're doing, because someone else is chasing and you never want them to catch up. So time constraints, let's talk about that. Everything you're doing has a time constraint on it. You're doing every position in the business. You're trying to control everything. You're making all the decisions. It's your vision. You're thinking of everything that can go well or bad with your company. And eventually, you look at paralysis by analysis. You have to make decisions, make them fluid, but make them and go forward. Don't sit there and keep thinking about things. Companies that think about things and stay stagnant all the time are destined for failure. Absolutely. You got time constraints, right? Everyone has time constraints. There's only 24 hours in a day. You got to sleep a little bit. You got to have a little fun. So let's look at some of the hidden time consumers. So many things you might not be thinking about when you're starting your company. If you're thinking about, I'm just going to work on the business and I'll be good. Doesn't work that way. Life's not that good. Number one, good old government's got to get involved. You got to have a piece of everything, no matter what you're doing. They even want a piece of you when you fail. You still got to pay your fees and so forth. You got the Federal CARE Act, the tax codes. Studies show you spend 40 to 80 hours a year working on government regulation and crap. You're stuck doing it. You got to do it. And if you don't do it, they will harass the bejesus out of you until they get their money. All they want is their money, right there. It's a fundraiser. Tip 2, initial startups. Now, you may think I'm just going to start working on my business and I'm going to just get it going. And that's not really true. Please take time to take a look at this list. Number 3, and I hate this with a passion, is administrative paperwork. Don't underestimate how long it takes to do all the administrative paperwork and all the paperwork that's involved in your business. Take time and go through this list and really try to quantify how long this is going to take. Tip number 4, maintaining customers. You kind of think the race is over when you get the customers. Wrong, bad answer. You don't have a customer, I believe, until you got the 4th or 5th order from them. We say one customer, 1 order is an order, 2 orders is an order, 4 to 6 orders is a customer. That's how you have to look at it. So you're making your sales calls, your emails. You got to take them out to dinner and entertain them. Maybe give them loyalty awards or discounts or whatever you're doing. You're constantly tilling the soil, basically, when you have customers. You have to continuously feed them, continuously fertilize it, whatever it is, right? You have to make sure you're continually on your customers, because remember, your customer is someone else's prospect. And speaking of that, tip number 5 is the competitors, right? They're all over if you just took a customer from them, nobody likes to lose. They're going to be all over them. What are your customers doing? What kind of awards program do they have, or a loyalty program? What are they doing on social media? What's their website? Go on their website at least once a week. See if something's changed. See what's going on. See who they're teaming up with. Who's their partner? Do they have someone sponsoring them? Whatever it is, however they're trying to go to market, you have to think about what are they doing. If you put some words into the website and their website pops up, why didn't yours? You have to think about that. Trade shows, go look at their booth. Go before hours or after hours, do whatever you want. Send someone over there that's a buddy that they don't know about and ask a bunch of questions. You need to have this information. We call that a secret shopper, but you need to have this information. You need to know everything about what your customer is doing, right? You gotta really dig into them. Anything you see on the internet, who they're teaming up with again, their content that they're using. Think about how are they drawing people to their website? What are they doing that you're not? Okay, you're an entrepreneur and you think you're the busiest person in the world. We all do. And the facts are, you really are. You really have to do everything when you're starting out. Remember, you're all 9 positions. And as you do it all, you're eventually going to burn out. You can't keep up with what is going to happen. So eventually you got to build a team. That's all there is to it. You need help. You got to focus on moving the needle. If you're an entrepreneur and you're spending a lot of time doing things that are mundane, and I don't want to say all your employees are going to do mundane things, but you have to concentrate on needle movers. So you got to hire people to fill the needs that you have. And since every business is different, everybody's looking for somebody different. You might need someone to answer the phones, but you might have an internet business, so nobody answered the phone, so you don't need that. You need someone that'll complement your skills and allow you to do things that'll benefit the company more than doing something mundane. You want to reduce the amount of tasks you're doing yourself and let your employees do it. And you're going to need to delegate. Some people are they don't like delegating. They like to do everything themselves. They think they can do everything better, right? And maybe you can in your own mind, and maybe you really can. Who knows? But eventually you have to delegate. So you're going to lose a little control. I remember day one of my first employee, she answered the phone and she talked to the customer different than I would have. She did a fine job, and I could hear her because we're in an office that was 400 square feet, and I could hear her, and I was like getting all tensed up, and oh my God. Eventually you have to let go. Train them, let them do it, let them make sure that they got all the training they need, and they can take care of your customers. The quality of work, you're always going to say, well, I can do it better, I could have done it better. Sometimes good enough is good enough. That's the way you have to approach business. You have to work on the needle movers. You're going to lose a little bit of exposure to your own business. I remember when I started, I knew everybody, all the customers. I knew their kids played softball or whatever it was. I knew everything about them. As your business grows, you don't have that intimate relationship. That's part of the thing you have to absorb. You have to remember, what is the impact to your customers and your impact to your business? You got to make sure that employee, if it's employee number 2, they're 50% of the company, make sure they're well qualified, you train them well, and you give them every opportunity to succeed. So a huge leadership skill is delegating. You can't do everything yourself. If you have a fear of delegation, I'm the only one who knows how to do this, I'll do it myself, right? Or you don't have time to delegate it correctly, you're just telling somebody to do it, and you don't have delegation skills. Some people feel guilty, actually, like, oh, I should do that myself. I don't want them to think I'm dumping on them or making them do all the mundane work. That's why you have employees, to do things well that you don't have time to do. You want to concentrate on growing your business. What's the next strategy? What's my competitor doing to me? What are my customers asking for? You don't want to spend all your time doing accounts payable and accounts receivable or whatever else other tasks you have. That's why you hire people to do that. Instruct them, be firm about what you want done, and you get it done. So tip number 1 when you're hiring. Some people go, oh my God, I need people, I'm just going to hire right away. Do not hire quickly. Every time I've hired quickly, or I found what I call a bargain person, someone who's making under market value, I paid for it. Every single 100% of the time it has cost me. So slow down, hire the people with the right skills, set your expectations of what you want for these people. You want high quality people, you want people that are proven, you want to talk maybe to their previous boss, talk to their supervisor, don't talk to buddies, talk to their supervisors, get good references, do your homework, do your due diligence on your potential employees. It's so critical, because if you have an employee in the last 90 days and you have to get rid of them or they quit, you're back at ground zero. That was a very, very expensive experiment. Hiring people is very expensive. There's training, you're introducing them to their customers, and then they call 90 days later and they're not there. Well, what happened to so-and-so? Well, what's going on in that place? Can't you hold on to people? So you got to be very, very careful when you're hiring people. Tip number 2, match the task to the skills with the skill of the employee. Make sure if you're going to get an accounting person, you hire a person with accounting skills. There's accounts payable and accounts receivable. Don't hire a salesperson and try and throw them into somewhere they're not. Remember the 9 positions in the baseball team. Don't take the left fielder and put them in catcher. It just won't work. And task the resources to their strength. Give them things they're good at, right? I always say we want to exploit everybody. If you're an entrepreneur, you're good at something because you started your company, do that and excel at it. And if you got some employees that are excellent at bookkeeping and keeping things organized, then give them all the bookkeeping, keep them organized. And remember, we're not here to train tool. It's not a training tool. There's no mentoring. You delegate. You train them once, you show them how to do it, you delegate, this is how I want it done, and you have to be firm about it and have good expectations. Don't be wishy-washy when you're delegating, especially when you're new, because you're afraid people are going to say, oh, they could have done that themselves. You don't be wishy-washy. I hired you, I'm paying you a fair wage, I need you to do this. And be very, very clear about it. Black and white's a much better way to go. 3, also be detailed. What do you want? What are the expectations? What's the due dates? What's the output you want from this employee? Don't just say, hey, why don't you take a look at these bills and let me know when they're due or whatever. No, put the bills in the system, make sure they're paid on time, and try to get better terms. Try to push the suppliers back. But those are 3 directives I give you. Let's talk on Friday, see how well you did. 4, a very good way for people to learn is give them examples of things you've done in the past and what was successful. Give them visuals. Hey, listen, I tried to get terms from this person before. I did it this way. It worked. I got an extra 15 days. Why don't you try this, this, and that? Say our business has grown with you X%. So give them what has worked in the past so they understand where you're coming from. Tip number 5. You got to have milestones if you're doing something fairly significant, and make sure people are progressing. How much do you want done? When should you get an update on the progress that they're making? And remember, if there's a red flag or there's a problem, catch the issues early. Don't be afraid to catch issues early and say, hey, wait a minute, this is going wrong, let's correct it. If you correct the behavior early, it doesn't become a habit. Tip number 6 is the red flags, right? When there's a red flag, raise it. And make sure your employee has the ability, the willingness, and the know-how to raise when there's a red flag. Last thing you want is a problem getting buried because they're afraid to talk to you, and then all of a sudden, 90 or 120 days from now, you say, why didn't you tell me that? Don't let your employees be intimidated by you, right? Sometimes entrepreneurs run over people, right? And they're, oh, let's go. We got to move. And all of a sudden, your employees won't speak up when something's going wrong, and that can cost you. It's very, very dangerous if your employees are afraid to speak to you. Tip number 7, the big jobs, right? And you start delegating some of the big jobs, you got to have the milestones. You got to have weekly meetings or whatever it is, right? And share your plan, and make sure everybody can access the same plan. If you give the vision for the plan, make sure that the one employee or other employees can put it on a neutral drive where everybody can go and check it out and see where it's at. They can have input to it, and you can check on it fairly frequently. Don't let things just, oh, I'm sure that's getting handled. I hope that's getting handled. If you say, I hope that's getting handled, odds are it's not getting handled. So stay on top of it and make sure you're very, very crystal clear on that. Tip number 8, personal tracking. Yourself, what are you doing? What are you going to do next? How are you going to monitor what's going on? You start with a couple projects when you're an entrepreneur, and before you know it, 6-9 months into it, you got 10-15 projects going on. So you got to make sure that you know what you want to do for yourself, and also when your employees are supposed to get you something. So you have this calendar, stick to the calendar. I tried to remember stuff when I first started out, and I used to have a calendar with muscle cars on it. I used to write on it and so forth. Well, guess what? You're not in the office all the time. Your phones can give you alerts, your computers can give you alerts. These are invaluable. Use that technology, put the alerts on there. This way you can monitor the progress on everything. Okay, the next challenge for leadership is losing focus. By the way, guilty. When I started out and I was just making my products and I had 6 part numbers and I thought, oh, I could sell that, I could sell that, I could sell this, I could sell it. Before you know it, I was spending time on nonsense and shiny things. I forgot about my bloodline, right, which was my initial product. I was looking for stuff, and I got humbled really quick because my other products started fading quickly. I said, oh my God, I got to get back to reality. Why it happens? Because success is addicting. Everybody has a little success and all of a sudden they think, hey, I can do everything. Everybody would buy something from me. I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to go out and make these barriers that are in construction sites. And I said to myself, oh, I can do those, I can do those. Oh my God, there's zillions of these things out there. Well, guess what? Someone's already making those. 2 is you got to sell them to the government, which is no fun. And 3 is, hey, you're getting into another competitive market. It's not just as soon as I get in the market, people will come. Remember, you build it, they will come. It doesn't happen. So I quickly got humbled, made a few phone calls, realized, wait a second, get back to your core business, Scott, get what you're good at. So, and the day-to-day got a little boring. I was in there for, I don't know, 3-6 months or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to try something different, because that's how a lot of entrepreneurs are. Be careful. I thought I saw another needle mover. Right? There's a lot of construction. We live in Chicago, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a billion of them here. Imagine how much there are around the country. And you kind of enjoy something new, something different. I'm going to go out and try something I've never tried before. Remember, get back to your focus. Stay focused on your business. Stay focused on what you're doing. Stay focused on your customers. We talked about chasing shiny things. Another risk is binocular focus. When you're only focusing on one specific thing, your product or how to make it better, or you're just sitting there and you're not worried about the overall health of your company, which you have to be careful of, right? Make sure the marketing and the sales. Remember, you can't just focus on one particular thing. A business to be successful needs all 9 players playing the same way. You want to focus on what you enjoy, but you want to make sure that you're doing things that are needle movers and are helping your business grow. And you got to play all the positions, especially early on. You may pick up a couple fielders as you go along, but in general, you're playing all the positions, and you're the manager, and you're the groundskeeper, right? So let's use a little analogy, like a hunter with binoculars on. Let's assume there's a gazelle in front of you. You're not looking at anything but the gazelle, and you run after it, and all of a sudden there's a lion or a bear there ready to eat both of you. That can happen in business, and it's very easy to get ultra focused on something so secular, and you gotta be very, very careful not to do that. You gotta remember, you're getting attacked by all the enemies that are out there, right? Which is cash flow and customers and competitors, and everybody's coming after you all the time for something different. Everybody wants something for you, but you can't sit there and lock yourself in the basement and sit there and say, I'm just going to work on this. It just doesn't work that way. Have your head on a swivel. You got to see everything coming. If you're in a war, they can attack you from behind, in front, from the side, whatever it is. Make sure you're watching everything.